Hello and welcome to the Spaghetti Junction podcast. My name is My name is Bruce. Jeez, like
Now that's a start. How was
off
your
to a
week,
fantastic start.
Gareth? Well, he is Bruce and I am Gareth.
We talk about things, we just don't know where
Just
they're
don't
gonna
know where
go.
they're gonna go. Yeah, like that, like right in the beginning. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I feel very special that my name came up first.
Oh yeah, dude.
Appreciate it.
I'm feeling rather magnanimous today. So there you go.
Magnanimous. Good word. Word of the day.
Magnanimous.
Magnanimous. Um. So last night I finished work late. Jumped in the shower, had something to eat like very quickly, and I thought I'm probably gonna watch a movie. No, probably I'm gonna watch a movie, but I probably will fall asleep halfway through because I'm just damn tired. Well,
Mm.
and also so I rewatched The Watchers
You
by
said you were
M
gonna
Night.
watch it again,
Yeah, by M Night Shyamalan's daughter. Sorry, I
right?
can't remember her name. Sorry, I know for her it's like, oh come on, stop freaking linking me with my dad. Unfortunately, that's just where it is right now.
Yeah.
So this was her debut. I actually watched it originally on the big screen with the
Right.
sound
Oh
and
yeah,
everything
you
like
went to see it
that.
on circuit. Yeah.
Oh, I have to say. So first of all, this movie got a lot of slack. Got a lot of, well, not hate, but a lot of people didn't even like it. It's got more negative reviews than positive from what I could see online. And
Okay.
it didn't, and I don't think it even made its budget. I don't even think it made. I think its budget was like 20, was like 30, and it's made like 28 or something.
Okay.
Hold on, let me tell you quickly. Um, I've actually, yeah, budget. There we go. So the Watcher's budget, a production budget of 30 million, and that's before the P&A. So that's 30 plus, eh? The box office right now, it's made 30.8 million.
Okay. So it basically just broke even. Just over
If
breaking
that,
even.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
it's 30 million before the press and so forth. They're like expenses on the press and
Oh, oh, I see. Okay.
the advertising and stuff. So I would imagine
Right.
it would have to do at least 34 to make it safe. But I mean, it's only been out for a month, so it's not
Mm.
terrible. But yeah, it's received a lot of mostly negative reviews. It seems from critics.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we were going to talk about it for a little while, just because we'd both seen it. Um,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it the second time, even watching it knowing. No, I can't. We probably can't share the whole story, but well, actually, we can. If you don't want to know what happens in the Watches, scroll forward. I don't know how long you got to scroll forward, but or do you think we should just keep it hidden for a while? Maybe that's better.
Yeah, keep it hidden. A lot of people probably haven't
Okay.
seen it yet.
All right,
So,
cool. So we'll keep it hidden. But watching it again, even knowing a certain aspect of the movie, still the movie was great. Um, I think the best actress and the best person on that, and they acted it like it was like they got the perfect person, was that older woman. She was just
yeah.
freaky and it was good. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the storyline. I thought it was quite original, I felt, in the day and age where I'm getting increasingly frustrated with movies that are just sequels and remakes and all this BS that
Yeah.
I'm getting really sick and tired of it, and I hardly watch new movies. So this was it was nice that it didn't have it had a storyline that I hadn't really sort of seen before.
Yeah.
Um, there was nothing woke being shoved down my throat, which I really appreciated. Um, and it was it's very much, if you're aware of M Night Shyamalan's style of filming, it does hint to that. Certain shots, um, certain shots where they don't show the other person's face. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people like blurred or they only focus on the one person that's talking, but not the other person. And so yeah, so you look, it is produced by him, so obviously it's going to have a bit of his. He obviously guided his daughter through the process, which is, but she was the principal director and everything, and obviously she would then have one of the most of the final stage. I see that it was based on a book though as well, which is quite interesting.
Correct. It was based
and
on
that's
a book,
that's probably why it's a bit more of an original story, because it's not a Hollywood screenplay.
Exactly. I mean,
it's an actual book. Like,
I think she like added one or two things to it, but yeah, it was definitely based on the book.
Definitely.
When I watched it, that there were a lot of shots that was unique that weren't Shyamalan's M. Night's style.
Oh yes.
Like I love the shots when it like focused on like half of Dakota Fanning's face. I love one of my favorite scenes is when she's by the window, which is like a mirror to it, and then she puts her ear to the glass and herself with the. I just thought that was such a cool idea. Very cool.
Yeah, it was
very cool.
Yeah, it was very cool, very nice, very well shot. Quite scary in places. You kind of waiting for those sort of jump moments, kind of thing. And yeah, pretty cool. Nice. I liked the fact that there was a bit of a twist, but not a massive M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Yeah, there we go.
So
Agreed.
It wasn't.
Agreed.
I kept waiting for the big twist, which didn't happen, and I was like, well, okay.
But I'll probably tell you what it is once we've spoken. What I thought it was going to be. If it was M. Night, then I think I knew where it was going to go, and thankfully it didn't go in that direction. I felt at the end it meandered slightly. It was like a slight meandering at the end, like it could have been faster. But in general, and also sometimes it's marketed as a horror and sometimes not, and I think that's where the problems be. It's not a horror. I don't do horror movies. They scare the shit out of me, and I switch them off. This wasn't a horror movie. I don't know what you would call it, like a drama. I don't know what you would call it, because it's a drama, but it's also obviously has some aspects of a scary movie, but it's not horror. I don't know how it can be described.
I would put it in the psychological thriller.
Psychological thriller. Yep. Fair enough. More
than anything else, it's kind of plays on your mind, like what the hell is going on here? It's like, so yeah, I think that would be my categorization of it. It's definitely not a horror. It's got nothing to do with it.
No, not at all. And I think when you put like a false label on it, and everyone's expecting a horror, the movie sucks because it's not a horror. I don't think it's meant to be a horror. As you say, it's more of a psychological, because otherwise, if you call this one a horror, then you'll call a lot of, M. Night's movies horrors, and they're not. Psychological, that is very correct.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it was a cool movie. It was nice to see something new and another sort of original type of storyline.
Yeah. And for people who want to know, and I won't even share it, but it is based, so it's not always everything, but it's based on an Irish folklore, if that is correct.
Yeah.
Won't go further than that. Oh, and a really awesome, which I love nowadays, because like 10 years ago, whatever it was, there wasn't a lot of, whenever the first drone arrived, before then, you couldn't get such epic shots like they took of the whole forest when just went.
Oh yeah, the aerial photos, the aerial shots.
Some of those drones are just incredible. So, anyways, I watched it again, which I don't normally watch a movie like relatively not normal. There's only a select few movies that I've actually watched with like a short amount of space between watching it the first time and the second time. This was one of them. I can't tell you exactly why I like it, but I really like it. It's going to be in my collection, and I'll probably watch it at least once a month, if not more. I really loved it.
Cool.
How and why,
Okay.
I can't tell you properly why, but it was just really well done. And I liked
Yeah.
it that it wasn't. Sorry, I mean, we will start now with the topic.
Mm.
And I also enjoyed it because there weren't many people in the cast. It wasn't huge
Yeah, small
sets.
cast. Huh?
It
Yeah.
wasn't huge scenes. You know what I mean? It wasn't Hollywood everywhere,
Mm.
which is why I really liked it too, because it was very much focused mostly on three characters. Wait, one, two, three,
Yeah.
four characters. Sorry, four characters.
Mm.
All set in mostly in one area, which I thought was great because it actually
Yeah.
made you feel. It made me feel part of the story, as in when like things began, like the way they went. It's like almost it's the four people plus yourself. If you get involved in the film, which is how I did it, kind of almost
Mm.
felt like I was with them. So thankfully I
Right.
wasn't. But
Yeah.
let's just be honest. Thankfully I wasn't with them. But okay, that's it. We just wanted to talk a little bit about the movie, as you said. That's a little bit unique, not the same Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, Bruce, pull us into the topic that you brought into the conversation. That that will all grow from. I mean, I'm definitely going to learn more.
Yeah. So a week or two ago, I got something that came up on my YouTube feed just without even looking at it, and I heard that in Australia, specifically in the state of Victoria, they have the Victorian state government has appointed a minister for men's behavioural change. And I thought, here we go. The Joker and Batman, and here we go.
We go.
Because I thought, oh, geez, because they've decided that, and firstly, a lot of people are up in arms, both men and women, about this. They think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Would you say that it's more the men than the women, though?
Yes, but a
would
lot
think
of
so.
women have come out defending men and saying this is just they really are not sort of quite against it. Because they've cited a sort of a bit of a spike in sort of domestic violence, should we say, which has prompted them to do this. Now, I think what's getting a lot of people's backs up is that it seems to be a very generalizing attitude that they have towards basically just men and boys. And I do acknowledge that, in any society there is a small subset of people, both men and women, that are prone to sort of more violence and being more dangerous. But it seems to be like men and boys are a problem and we need to fix them, kind of thing. That's where a lot of people, that's the sort of the impression that a lot of people are getting. And that's why so many, especially men, are going, hang on a minute, like this sounds like we're going back to George Orwell, whereas it's, creating this ministry to now, because men are a problem and there are things we need to fix in them, whereas the majority of men are not like this, and we just are trying to, live good and decent lives. Yes, and like I said, yes, there is
Absolutely.
always a small percentage of, men who are going to do violence. They're going to cross that line. But it just seems to be a bit of like a throwing the baby out with the bathwater type of situation, almost like an extreme case. And it's a very this guy, his name is Tim Richardson, at an annual salary of $245,000 Australian dollars, by the way.
245,000. Yeah, that's quite a bit.
So that's where Victorians' tax
That's
money is going.
about 10 point. It's between 10 and 11,000 a month.
Okay, quite a. That's. I
No,
mean,
hold
is
on.
that a decent?
Hold
Is
on,
that a
hold on, hold
decent?
on. Hold on. You say 240, eh?
245,000.
Okay, that's about 20 grand a month. My math
Okay, is that a
sucks.
decent? Is that a decent?
20,000. That's a shitload of money, buddy. That's
Okay,
not a normal. That's like a higher top tier.
that seems like it's the average salary for a sort of the minister, a minister
Well, that's just
in
crazy.
that sort of type of position
That's where the money goes,
in
isn't it?
the government. Yeah. So
Because 20 grand a
yeah,
month is just ridiculous.
yeah, and so and because it's such a new appointment, there isn't really a huge amount of information of how they're going to do this and what they're actually going to do, which is going to be very interesting. Are they going to roll out programs for boys in schools? Are they going to make it law that every man in Victoria now attends a weekly seminar?
I know.
You know,
It's all a great
to
idea,
say
but yeah.
you're like, okay, fine, the guy's got everything else to deal with. He's got a full-time job, he's got a family, and he's got all these other things on his mind, and now he has to possibly go and attend some weekly or monthly seminar about
Yeah.
how he needs to be better.
Um,
So yeah, I don't know, I don't know details of how they're going to do it,
yeah,
but
they haven't broken it down yet. But
nah.
the question that may arise is like what will the parliamentary secretary for men's behaviour change? What a great name. And the parliamentary secretary for men's
Mouthful.
behaviour change. It is, isn't it?
Well,
So the role supposedly is this: that they'll largely focus on the influence the internet and social media are having on boys and men's attitude towards women, as well as building respectful relationships. Richardson said. So here's what he put out on X or Twitter, whatever the frig it is now.
yeah.
Oh wait, this is on Instagram. Oh wow, he's going up to the Instagram world. He says this: I want to share with you some pretty big news. Premier Jacinta, what?
Jacinta Allen.
Jacinta Allen sounds like a knockoff of the Jacinta here in
She's
New
not.
Zealand.
She's not popular. Eh? Yes, she's not popular.
I
Ooh.
can imagine. So the Premier has asked me to serve as a parliamentary secretary for men's behaviour change and national first. Significance of this role is not lost on me. We know that the time to act on men's violence against women is now and starts with us, men and boys. We must make Victoria a safer place for women and children. Work to end the tragedy of deaths of Victorian women at the hands of men. This is the first position of its kind in Australia. Will focus largely on the influence the internet and social media have on boys and men's attitude towards women and building respectful relationships. I'm excited to work alongside Minister for the Prevention of Family Violence, Vicky Ward. That's also quite a one. This is not easy work. It is important, and we can't afford not to address it in Western moment. And then he just burbles on about something else and how he's changed his role.
Yeah. So yeah. So at I think a lot of people got their back up when that part of that sentence is at the hands of men. Now that's an incredibly generalizing blanket statement, and I can understand how a lot of people have taken umbrage and offense to that, because it's like, no, don't lump me in with that, because there are, most guys aren't like that, and so that's why I think a lot of this has been, they just feel it's a very generalizing, possibly even demonizing sort of statement, where they say like all men are the problem and all men need to be fixed. That seems to be like a bit of a where they seem to go with that statement. So that's
No,
why.
for sure. I mean, I was having a chat with a woman at work recently, and she stuff has happened to her by the hands, or by a guy, by men actually, And the unfortunate, and I spoke with another lady there, and she's also had, I mean, no, we didn't like share our deep, dark stories, but, just from this. And she was saying that unfortunately, when that happens to a woman, the what puts up their backs or scares them is another guy around them. If a guy's walking behind them, just walking for the sake of walking, there, there's a fear thing. It's all based around
Correct.
that men have more strength, men have more power, and and can. So there's a lot of a fear, and I don't know the percentage, but there's a very in that article you sent me. It spoke about the like the the rates as to you know gender
Yeah.
violence is, but so I can understand. In fact, sorry, I lie. I can't understand what the woman would have gone through. What like. So unfortunately, um, a lot of men are just painted with that same brush because of what women have gone through. Even though it's not you, it's not me, it's not the person next door. It's just because some women have had such a negative experience by guys.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's whatever the percentage is, in Victoria or just in general in the world. It's relatively high, gender-based violence, and unfortunately, as we're seeing, every guy gets painted with the same brush,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it difficult. So I can
Yeah.
understand, what they're saying. On the
Mm.
flip side, I agree with you. I think they've just gone willy-nilly and just slapped the paint on every single person around.
Yeah. I think there's. I mean, we've seen it. I think we've seen it for a good couple of years now, where you know, uh, this whole thing of what they call toxic masculinity and that kind of thing, and all these like traits that are fairly normal in men get demonized,
Yeah,
um, and um, and that's a problem. It's almost like the way men and boys are that stuff needs to be fixed. Whereas it's basically how we're all born. We've got this inherent traits in us, but they apparently need to be trained out in a lot of ways,
yeah.
um, to make I don't know, to make men more docile, in some ways. Which and look, I mean, men are definitely born with much more of an inherent propensity for violence. That's it's part of our
Yeah,
nature.
yeah.
But yes, violence can be a bad thing, but controlled violence can also save lives. Controlled violence can
Wait,
controlled yeah, yeah,
okay.
because
Explain what you're saying.
taking down a school shooter, taking down a whatever with if the only outcome to save lives is to draw a weapon and to put someone down who's threatening innocent lives, then that split second of controlled violence, not from an emotional point of view, from a
Okay, I think I
from
get
a
you.
from a from a point of view of this guy is going to hurt women, children, other men, innocent people, and the only way to do that, the only way to stop him is to put him down. That type of controlled violence could be a firefighter breaking down a door to save people inside a burning house, that
Control.
kind of
Oh,
thing.
okay. I see where you're going.
That I'm talking absolutely split second. I've decided to do this for 1 second because lives are in danger, um, rather than because uncontrolled violence is a school shooting. Uncontrolled emotional you know reaction is that kind of thing. So, and that's more dangerous.
I, I
So
think I think what they're talking about though is not school shooting. It's nothing to do with that. So I
no,
see what you're
definitely not.
saying, but
But
the
yeah,
what the uncontrolled violence that they're talking about is gender based violence. So I see your
yeah,
point. I see your
yes,
first point on the controlled violence,
mm,
but the uncontrolled, it doesn't. that's not really the topic as to.
Well, yeah,
we
okay,
should
all
have-
right, yeah, but
So I see your point, but to the topic that we are doing, uncontrolled violence is the big issue,
yeah,
which is family-based. I mean, gender-based violence. Family violence.
yeah,
Anything that's that causes harm, basically, to somebody
yeah,
else.
yeah. That's and it seems like there is quite a bit of there are quite a few programs already in Australia working with men who have been perpetrators of domestic violence. So there are things there that so they do work with maybe guys who have gone to jail or be charged because they were possibly beating their partners or whatever. And so that's a good thing. It's interesting that they feel they now need to have someone in government who's actually heading up this whole
Yeah.
thing.
And like you say, at this point, we don't even know how they're going to do it. I mean,
Yeah,
I think their idea was like, okay, let's get this going, just to show that we're serious. But I don't understand how they're going to actually make it happen.
correct. Yeah, and then another very interesting came up, another interesting question came up, is how are people within the trans community affected by this? What is it because if a man decides to identify as a woman, does that make him now exempt from from these policies? Or what about women who now identify as men? It's a serious question,
Really?
that kind of thing. And
It almost
that's
feels
a question.
like a stretch, but
But you can see my point, because remember, we want to be inclusive and we want to be equal. It is a valid question. So that's a bit of a gray area that they're going to have to tackle as well. I'm not taking the piss at all. It's a serious serious question. So so that's that. Yeah. Like, yeah, if a woman says, okay, sure, she's now transitioned to be a man, would she now have to be subject to a weekly or monthly seminar that she is now required to go to? Because no, you're a man, therefore you need to go and understand that your behavior needs to change.
yeah.
Like, okay,
I haven't thought
so
about
it'll be
that.
interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that sort of works out. So.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I can see part of it is in, of our, discussion that I can see vaguely what they're trying to do is to basically get guys to stand up and say enough. We are not going to be part of the problem. We're going to be part of the solution, and that I can see as valid. I can see, like something along those lines. That they are trying to do, which I think everywhere, but to the point that they've elected someone on government to do it, that doesn't make any sense. I mean,
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
there are various ways to get men to say, you know what, I will stand up for women. I will ensure that on my watch, that gender-based violence doesn't occur. So that I get, because I think that is important that guys are saying that. But the fact that they would put it into a governmental role, I don't get it.
Yeah, and I think I think most most guys are not like that. Let's just be honest. I think men we walk around and live our lives using probably more self-control than anyone. We have to live every minute of our life, using as much self-control as we can, because there's so much that's sort of coming at us. There's so many challenges in life. And most of us are just trying to survive. We're just trying to live our lives, and if we're husbands and fathers, we're trying to provide for our families and make sure that our kids are going to school and doing well at our jobs and that kind of thing, and being good husbands and whatever. For me, I'm not married, or I don't have kids or anything, so I don't have those responsibilities, but I still have to make serious self-control decisions every day, emotional self-control decisions every day.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, that's when men can become very dangerous, is when they let those things sort of get to them, instead of understanding their emotions, and being able to not repress them, just sort of be able to control them in a sort of a logical way more than anything else. I have to do that whenever I get behind the wheel of my car.
Yeah.
Really, if I don't do that, then I get quite angry on the roads, and I have to really work on letting things go big time.
So I'm going on, as we're kind of veering to an end here. I've just done
Yeah,
a bit of a search as to, the gender-based violence, stats. I wanted to try and find them, for the Victoria.
yeah,
And this is what I'm getting. This is from their own website. It's basically called respectvictoria.vic.gov.au. So it's a governmental based site. So here's some of the stats that they have. This is 15th of March 2023. So it's a year ago. That's all I can find right now. I'm sure there are other stats somewhere, just for our time's sake. So around that time, they said that around 39% of women in Victoria have experienced physical or sexual violence since the age of 15. That's crazy. Around 26% of women in Victoria have experienced partner violence from a partner they live with, including emotional, physical, sexual, and economic abuse, which is also another one. And then they say since this data was last collected in 2016, number of women reporting partner violence and the number of women reporting emotional abuse has dropped slightly. And it just speaks more on that, the rates of violence. And I feel that it's not just Victoria. I think, I know in South Africa it's a big thing, gender based.
yeah,
From what I understand, from when I was there, it's relatively high. In New Zealand, in certain demographics, it was also pretty high.
yeah,
But as you say, it's a percentage. It's a
yeah,
percentage of men that does it,
yeah,
and the high percentage, which is what you're talking about. Yeah, I would agree. The high percentage would not be that sort of person.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, how we emotionally react to something is completely and 100% our responsibility. We the only thing we can control in life is how we react to situations, and unfortunately, a lot of men's emotional resilience is quite low. So you kind of let those kind of emotions kind of almost control you, instead of I always say that a man who is in touch with his emotions is the one who can control his emotions, in a situation, in any given situation. Think about being in like an MMA fight. If your opponent gets inside your head, he's won,
Yeah,
because you're now fighting from a point of emotion rather than strategy, kind of thing. So I think often the a man who is more emotionally controlled controls the outcome of a situation, and can very often de-escalate a dangerous situation, just by
yeah.
being emotionally in control.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, man. You know what I do? I watch road rage videos on YouTube to
I
remind
can't.
me. I watch
I can't watch
them
them.
to remind. I watch them to remind me of what could happen if emotional control is not there. And it's
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
and it strengthens my resolve when I go
yeah.
out on the roads and I go, listen, just, you know,
Yeah, well, a recent,
that's my sort of therapy.
no, it's good. I mean, we've got to wrap it up, but
Yeah,
on that, just about 2 days ago here in New Zealand, in Auckland, there was a road rage incident between two big ass, SUVs, um, and in the ensuing back and forth, on the highway, one of them went straight into a car, flipped it, and the person in there died. Um, just
okay,
some random person who wasn't even part of their whatever the
correct,
fudge they were doing, which is also stupid, and
correct,
their road rage back and forth ended up in an innocent person dying. And obviously they are now being the police are trying to basically track down who these people are because of their road rage, they're now up for culpable homicide. When you would think 30 minutes before, I don't know what the guys were, or who they were, or what they were doing, you wouldn't, like 30 minutes before, and now 30 minutes later, you are now going to be accused of culpable homicide. Just because you
correct.
couldn't put your anger in check.
Because someone did something and the other person, instead of just sort of, okay, get angry, but allow yourself a second of anger, but then, okay, just, all right, that person cut me off. It's okay. They're
Yeah,
stupid. I'm not going to change stupid anytime soon. You know,
yeah. It
they then
just,
escalate, then the other person escalates, and
yeah.
it ends in
It just
tragedy.
shows that there's a lot of anger out there, men and women, but
Yeah,
especially with men, I think there's a lot of pent up anger and
yeah, and I
frustration
think
that
it's uh,
if it's not watched or looked after, it could end up like that.
yeah, and it's the I think a lot of men, I think a couple of generations now are not being given fundamentals of how to actually understand their own emotions and how to understand what triggers them in certain situations and then be able to control that. Like I have to get into when I get in my car, I go, okay, some taxi's going to do something in front of me. Some guy's going to change lanes without indicating in front of me. Some guy's going to sit on my tail and he's going to tailgate me. And if I accept the fact that that's going to happen, I'm less likely to react in those situations because it's going to happen. And
Yeah, sure.
my emotional reaction, me getting angry, is not going to change that person's behavior at all.
Yeah,
And okay, so I hooted him. Okay, I feel vindicated. Okay, hooted the wrong person. That guy stops, pulls out a 9mm and puts two through your windscreen.
of
Kind of
course.
thing.
Yeah, unfortunately,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and it's not easy. I have my days where I'm not that emotionally controlled, but most of the time I like to think that I am. But it's not easy.
yeah,
And I think it's something that every guy in general should be a daily practice. It's very conscious for me. It's a conscious thing, hour to hour, because I've got so many things that I've got on my mind and dealing with that I have no choice but to be emotionally controlled,
yeah,
because if I don't, I'm gonna I'm gonna lose it, and that's not good for anybody, you know. So that's why
yeah,
a little bit of stoicism goes a long way, but it does take practice.
yeah.
And it's not a case of repressing your emotions. It's not becoming this completely stone-faced, no emotion whatsoever. It's just, understanding your situation and going, okay, this is a sucky situation, but I'm going to deal with it because I have no choice. It is up to me. No one else is coming to help me with this. I've got to do this myself. And
On
that's what we're doing.
that,
That's what we do.
yeah, it's good ending, bud.
Yeah,
There we
cool.
go. Thank
That was
you
a
for
good
that.
chat.
Yeah. Feedback is always welcome. Leave your comments down there. Whatever
Awesome.
there's some topic brought up to you. Yeah. Share your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Cool. Awesome. Bye, guys.
Like, subscribe.
Like,
Stay.
subscribe,
You
share.
always have
Sorry.
to do it. It's every time we finish, you got to finish it that way. So don't
Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Do everything. All that good
You were
stuff.
just like looking at the screen, like okay.
was
Hey,
awkward.
goodbye. Have a good one, people. See you next
Cool.
week.
See you guys. Bye.
Goodbye.